Hey guys, welcome back to the other side. We're Ian and Anna, your favorite travel couple.
Ooh.
And we just spent over 30 days in Greece. We gathered a ton of information. Today we want to share with you 10 tips that you have to know before visiting Greece.
Before we get started, I want to give a huge thank you to every single one of you for subscribing, watching our videos throughout the years, because we're nearing that 100K subscriber mark, which is mind-blowing. Thank you a lot, and don't forget to press the subscribe button down below. Let's get started with the top 10 tips when visiting Greece.
Starting with number 10, buy olive oil before you leave. Because we travel for like long periods of time, we don't always get souvenirs for friends and family. But when I saw this olive oil at a little shop that a grandma owned on our way back from Shipwreck Beach in Zakynthos, I had to stop and get some. It is like infused with rosemary, a bay leaf, a chili pepper. I ended up just getting one. I think I was intending to buy it for my grandma or something. And then I tried it and I bought 4 bottles. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best gift ever. But I wish I would have gotten them in Zakynthos because this is like the real deal. It was about €5.
It was only €5, which is a steal, especially when it's coming from right from their olive farms.
Don't leave without a bottle of olive oil.
All right, let's move on to number 9, booking your ferries.
The best way to do this is simply use the app Ferry Hopper. Basically, you just go in and you pick your island. It's really self-explanatory. The one thing I noticed is that there are classes like economy, business, luxury. It's not exactly like that, but along those lines. Obviously, first come, first serve, so a lot of people are gonna get the cheapest ones first. And if you wait too long, all that's gonna be left is a first class ticket. Another thing to keep in mind is they do ask you to print these tickets out. I never am able to find a printer anywhere, so I end up just going to the ferry that day. Right across the street, there will be tourist information that will book ferries for you. You can go in and pay a small fee for them to print your ticket. It's about €2 per ticket.
And let me tell you, these ferries are no joke. They are so nice. I got some work done on them. They're very comfortable, clean, tons of rooms and bathrooms. You might stop during your trip a lot at different ports, but they get in and get out. The efficiency of the Greek ferries is unbelievable, and you'll see it when you visit Greece.
Another quick thing I wanted to mention is we had to get from Milos to Ikaria. There's not a direct ferry, so you can figure that out on your own, which is kind of cool too. You can be like, okay, first I have to go to Mykonos and then Mykonos to Ikaria. And then if you can't figure it out through the app, if you go into these agencies, they'll also help you out with that.
All right, let's move on to number 8, things you should definitely bring when visiting Greece.
Snorkel, our fins,
Yes.
and our goggles. We're not sponsored by
These
them.
are our essential. Yes, we are not sponsored by them, but if you go down in the description below and buy through our link, we'll get a kickback on Amazon. But these are fins and snorkel gear that we've been using for 3 years. They are durable. Every time one of our friends or anyone on our trips uses them, they end up going home and buying some because they're comfortable. They don't hurt your forehead when you put them on, and they are super clear, especially if you put a little bit of baby soap before you go snorkeling.
We bring it all over the world. We brought it in our small 40-liter backpacks across Southeast Asia. Like, we make sure that they're in every single suitcase.
And the amount of money we save over these 3 years, I'm telling you, snorkel gear can be like $10 to $20 to almost $30.
So the next thing we want to talk about is sunscreen. This 200 milliliter bottle was about €16. This is like the cheap local price.
Yeah. You're gonna need this when you're in Greece. The sun is always beating down on you. We're always hiding underneath our blankets, our towels, or in caves.
The other thing we want to talk about, which we didn't have, were water shoes. And I was watching a YouTube video about Greece, and this girl said that she got her own water shoes. We'll probably link this pair below because they looked so nice, and I did see some people in Greece wearing them. When you're cliff jumping, which will be all the time in Greece, or even if you swim out and want to walk on the rocks, your feet will hurt. If you don't want to invest in them, just bring a pair of tennis shoes. The Santorini cliff jump specifically hurt everyone's feet.
This is the worst part. Walking up here,
And one of the reasons some of these Greek islands have such clear water is because they have rocks and pebble beaches instead of sand, because the sand with the waves will blow up in the air and make it a little hazy
murky
underwater. And if any of you guys know a certain brand that we should get, because we definitely need to invest after we visited Greece, just comment down below, because they'll help everyone out.
And that brings us to number 7, SEALIFE expectations. This kind of really works off of our last tip. This isn't so much a tip, it's just don't expect to see a ton of sea life in Greece. when we're in Southeast Asia, which I know we always compare it to Southeast Asia, but that's one of like the first places and the route of our travels. So it's hard not to compare waters and stuff. The water in Greece is blue and clear, just like Ian said, because of the pebbles, but it really does lack sea life. The most interesting thing that we saw were fish and sea urchins.
The fish are just very tiny fish, nothing that you're gonna get excited about. Just swimming in the crystal clear water is fun, but I would say what you can find in different places around the world, like the Philippines. We see a turtle every single day off the coast.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of expected to see in Greece. We were there for a month on all these different islands, and we just didn't see that much underwater sea life. Instead of looking for that, we decided to jump off a lot of cliffs.
Yeah.
Next up is number 6, wind on the islands.
These islands can be very windy and they come with huge waves. We were very lucky for the most part not to experience it, but I think there are certain things going in that I wouldn't have done if I knew how windy it was. For example, taking a boat tour in Santorini, it was not as enjoyable as I thought because it was so windy and it was just really rocky. Like you can't even really swim.
Usually these islands are hitting anywhere from 25 to 30 miles per hour. Even though you're on a catamaran, which is often stable, the wind is just blasting you, waves are hitting, water's flying up, you're getting wet, and you pay so much to go on these catamaran tours. When you see a nice day without wind, definitely book a boat tour.
That's a really good leeway to Milos. We just talked about Santorini. There's this one beach called Sarakaniko. It's blowing up all over the internet. It's super famous and there's a good reason why. It's extremely beautiful and a great day of fun. We had an awesome day there jumping off, but our friends Amanda and Austin came just a few days later. They couldn't even swim there.
It was night and day. Like I was mind blown when they showed us that video. You might get unlucky when traveling, and it happens to us all the time. You just gotta go with the flow.
Yeah.
Don't get too stressed.
Let's move on to a very important one. Number 5, picking your island.
We all have these expectations from movies, from TV shows that Greece, you can't go wrong. You're gonna have that Mamma Mia moment. Although Greece did live up to a lot of those expectations, I think putting that much pressure on a country is never a good thing, especially planning a once in a lifetime trip. So much money goes into it, time planning. From traveling experience, we try not to have any expectations. Sometimes Anna doesn't really know where we're going, and it makes for such a better experience.
I think what Ian's trying to like kind of weave into is pick an island, go with it, you can always come back. I think every single island in Greece is super unique, and if you ask any of the locals, they'll all tell you. There's not one island that's better than the other. They all have their things. The only thing I would say, I've heard nothing but frustrating reviews from Mykonos. If you like to party, I think that's totally different.
Bring up a story about the old man in Nicadia. We asked him if he wanted his island to turn into Santorini or Mykonos.
Μύκονο δεν υπάρχει βοήθεια, δεν υπάρχει αλληλεγγύη, δεν υπάρχει φιλοξενία. Υπάρχει χρήμα μόνο.
Like he said, the bigger islands, the more famous islands are all about money. They're so expensive.
I would say if you have like 2 weeks, 3 days in Athens, unless you're really a history buff, I think is fine. And then after that, either spend a whole week and a half in one island or just go to 2. Don't try to go to like 5 islands in 1 week.
If you want some inspiration on what islands to visit, we made a top 10 places to visit video in Greece. We have tons of tips there, so definitely check that out after watching this video. Jumping in real quick to introduce the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Just so you guys know, the first 1,000 people to sign up through the link down in the description below will get 1 month free of Skillshare Premium. After signing up, you guys can take one of my favorite classes on Modern Money Habits by Justin Bridges. Justin is a former investment banker turned photographer, and he goes over all the financial missteps he had going into entrepreneurship. He talks about financial security, retirement savings, debt, everything in between. One thing that stuck with me from his class was how important it is to know where your money is going, especially as an entrepreneur. Early on in Anna and I's career, we had trouble with this and needed to sit down and learn more about it. Now we keep track of all our expenses on my phone, and it helped keep us on track for our financial goals. If you're struggling with your finances, I definitely recommend taking it right now after you sign up through the link below. But let's head back into the video.
Here's a really good one. Number 4, international driver's license. When you're on these islands, you're gonna need wheels. Big problem is you need an international driver's license. We ended up getting away without having one for a while. We were renting cars without an international driver's license. They were not strict on it. But here's what happened. We don't drive manual. There's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, It's very common for Americans our age to not know. If you do know how to drive a manual car, you're like the cool kid in town because it's so uncommon. I can't even explain it. So we were renting automatic cars, but then these islands don't have a lot of automatic cars on hand. It came to a point where they just didn't have any more for us. We are so used to driving motorbikes and it's cheaper. We drove motorbikes all over Asia. The reason we couldn't drive them was because we didn't have the international driver's license. They're so strict on this international driver's license when it comes to ATVs and motorbikes. I wish we would have done it from the start because we would have saved so much money. We easily applied for an international driver's license and we got one overnight. We will put that link in the description below so you guys can get one before you head to Greece. And then we ended up getting motorbikes for like 15 to 25 euros per day.
Now on to number 3. One of my favorites is gyros. Anna, how do you say it correctly?
Well, we always thought it was gyro. I feel like I would say like that my whole life, which is still better than saying gyro. We asked around, we Googled, we think it's gyro.
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 With a little roll on your tongue, but you don't have to sound like an idiot like we do. You could say,
gyro.
Yeah, you could say gyro.
They won't understand you because I was saying euro and they're like, do you want money? And I was like, no, not a euro.
And then secondly, you should be eating these if you're trying to stay on a budget. We found a lot for just 2 euros to 5 euros. Even in Santorini, one of the most expensive islands, we were eating the most delicious gyros to die for.
Those are the best gyros I've ever had.
I tried to meat one too, just to try it out. We don't usually eat meat, and they weren't as good as the halloumi cheese or just the Greek salad gyro.
Other dishes that I highly recommend trying, grape leaves. Anytime you can eat feta, eat feta. Stuffed tomatoes, oh my gosh. Moussaka. Actually, we grew up going to Greek festivals around us all the time. One of my all-time favorites, loukoumades. They're just honey balls. You have to have them.
That's another reason to go travel. You get to try the best food in the entire world from the countries it originated from.
Greece is not cheap. It's not a place to spend a month. That was one of our biggest mistakes. We just ended up spending way too much money.
You know what, I'm gonna add on an extra bonus here is tell you guys how much we were spending on a daily average.
Obviously, we were not expecting it to be cheap. Airbnbs. We can stay at an Airbnb in Turkey in Southeast Asia for $20 to $30 a night.
Even $12 a night in Bali. Greece, on the other hand, on average, we were spending at least $85 to $90 on Airbnb alone. You're not thinking about your ferries, your cost of food, everything
Plane
else.
rides,
So
everything.
on average, we were spending anywhere from 120 to 160 every single day, and that's for 2 people. So that's like $80 per person per day.
I think is actually a fine price if you're only going for 2 weeks.
The amount of time we spent in Greece was not good for our wallets, but it was good for fun.
Because now we get to talk about it. All right, number 2, hanging with locals.
Now, this is our favorite thing to do in every single country we visit. Starting out, we were in Santorini. We really didn't meet too many locals, and then as our trip got longer and we really put ourselves out there, the Greeks would come out of nowhere with presents for us, would help us try to find cars, like our time on Milos. When an old couple saw that we were struggling for a bus, they were like, all right guys, hop in our car, we'll take you to get a rental car, and then we'll even give you wine, we'll give you some melon, we'll give you some cheese pie. The locals in Greece are so kind. If you're willing to put yourself out there, they will invite you into dinner, they'll invite you in just to talk and chat, and definitely drink raki if you get a chance, because don't drink it as fast as me.
I thought we tried it, no?
Oh my God.
Oh my.
Was I supposed to sip it?
And finally, number 1, booking in Athens. We actually spent quite a bit of time on Athens, even though we didn't really make a YouTube video for it. It is in our top 10 things to do in Greece. We were there in 4 different Airbnbs at different times. And this is really important because 2 of the times we were in a really bad neighborhood. I mean, I saw someone doing heroin. And we weren't too far from like some of the tourist places, so it was a bit confusing. And then the Airbnb host will be like, I know it's in a bad area, please leave a good review because I know my place is really good. So it's really tricky. We have 2 places that we loved in Athens. We're gonna put them in the description below. Athens is an amazing city. It has awesome history, architecture, mythology, but there are some bad parts. I don't think it's necessarily dangerous.
I would also say it was quite dirty.
It's on the dirtier side.
It
of
was
cities.
graffiti everywhere. We saw poop a lot on the ground. When the locals get nervous for you, that's when you know you're in a bad part of town.
He's like, just don't like stay out late and don't have anything on you if you are out late.
And that's a wrap. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and it helps you plan your next trip to Greece. Let us know if you like these type of videos where we just sit down and talk to you as if you're our friend.
Next video is gonna be on Serbia, so don't get too confused.
Anna is Serbian and her dad's from there.
Yes,
So
my
go
last name is Ivkovic.
Ivkovic.
Which you would know all this if you followed us on Instagram, which you should go do right now.
All right, we're gonna go now before you guys hate us.
All right, thanks, love you. Bye.